It's killing the lives of thousands of black kids.
The school system messed up.
Big time, failed him.
I want to take this opportunity to apologize to those students and families who may have been affected.
Dr. Stanley, she's failing our children.
Educators consider him a ghost student.
Was action taken? Regardless, action was taken. More actions are to come.
It's worse than anything I've heard in the whole time that I've been governor.
What about that failure factory that Augusta Fell Savage became?
It's been 4 months.
I had just came home from work on a Friday.
But Tamika Howard lives in minutes. The minutes before everything changed, and the minutes after.
Any other time I hear the gunshots go off in my neighborhood, I hear everything. This particular day, I didn't hear anything. 1 something in the morning, I hear my daughter screaming, "Who is it? Who is it?" But she sounded frantic. And when I got on my porch, she was like, "They shot Monte," and my whole body, went limp. I felt like if I could hold him and he could feel my heartbeat, I could bring him back to life, and I could. They wouldn't let me touch him. That's the last thing I see is my son laying on the ground, and he's gone. He's gone. My son, Monte Howard, was killed April 21st, 2018.
He was at my house every day.
It's less than a mile, but LaTanya Street lives in that distance.
I stood on my porch and I watched him drive away and go into his house. I got a phone call just a few minutes later, and a neighbor told me, "You need to come up here to the house because something is going on, and I've heard gunshots." I just took off running. And the closer I got to the house, the farther away it seemed for me to get to. The police were there. And he had unlocked the door, and he reached over, because the house was dark, to turn on the living room light. He walked in on burglars. My son is Sherman Carruthers Jr. He died February the 8th, 2017.
These women share similar stories of tragedy with hundreds of others in Baltimore City. One woman now says she has a solution, and it starts in the classroom.
People are not listening.
Millie Brown has been listening to mothers like these for more than a decade.
It's going to get worse. It's sad to say, but that's the reality of it. It's going to get worse.
Today, we are burying our children, and it shouldn't be that way.
Her nonprofit, Tears of a Mother's Cry, helps women who have lost a child to violence. Women like Tamika and LaTanya. Millie has heard their stories, and now she wants others to hear them too.
Listen to what these mothers have been through. Once they've heard what these mothers have been through, 9 out of 10 times they're going to say, "Hey, how many times do you want me to come to the school to check on my kid?"
Through a new program called PIC, or Parents in the Classroom, Tears of a Mother's Cry will offer gift cards for parents who go to the classrooms and attend assemblies with their kids to listen to grieving mothers, giving them all a glimpse into the devastating and far-reaching impact of a single bullet.
I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't ask for no sympathy. I just ask people, put those guns down. You're hurting people. You're destroying lives, and you don't have a right to do that. You don't have a right.
That is the message mothers like Tamika and LaTanya want to deliver. They're participating in Millie's program.
It starts at home, and it starts in school. Where do they go from home? They go to school.
All these killings, all these babies losing their lives. When will it end? When will this end?
Tonight, Project Baltimore in depth.
What did she do to our son?
Parents get the phone call they fear from a Baltimore County school.
And the first thing she said was, "Are you sitting down?" And my heart dropped.
I'm scared to death. I show up and he's already in the back of the ambulance.
2 first graders injured.
Threw me out the window and I landed on the street. Right here, that's the one that mostly hurts.
Both cases caught on camera.
Why don't you think the school system wants you to see the tape?
Now, these families are taking drastic measures to keep their children safe.
It could have been avoided and should have been avoided.
I can't send them back there. I can't.
Aberdeen Proving Ground.
Growing up, I was doubted a lot by people. I was always told what I couldn't do.
Attention! Stop moving!
Of the 24 young women who started,
Cover! Run!
only 14 remain.
About face!
And one
Set on!
refused to give up.
Order on!
I didn't have any type of plan of what I wanted to do in life. And then I thought coming here would help me figure that out.
Jordan Walters is now 16. How old were you when your mother died?
I was actually 14. My mom passed away.
How old were you when your father died?
14. They passed away within the same year.
And her life is very different
Right, left!
than it was just 2 years ago.
I was not waking up at 5 in the morning, making my bed.
She enrolled at the Free State Challenge Academy, a program for at-risk teenagers, which combines high school curriculum with a military discipline.
We have to make our beds like with hospital corners.
These Free State cadets, most of whom dropped out of high school, are not just working towards their GEDs. In about 6 months, they will learn the skills to cope with a life that's tougher than most.
Before I came here, I didn't think of I wasn't planning on doing anything with my life. I was just aging.
For Jordan, this program, the rigid routine has become an anchor in a life that would have otherwise dragged her under.
I'd probably be incarcerated or probably dead.
You really believe that?
Yes, sir.
Before coming to Free State, she was living in West Baltimore, bouncing around between relatives. She says her father was in and out of her life, often struggling with drugs. He died in 2016. That same year, her mother suffered a heart attack.
She was in a coma for a long while, and I didn't really go to school because I was sitting in the hospital with her.
At 14, Jordan became an orphan.
I started not going to school, leaving from school, getting high, smoking weed.
Soon she found herself out of school and in a gang.
When I got into it, I seen what it really was and things that you had to do. And me personally, I just didn't have the heart to do all those things, so I went to find an escape, a way to get away from it. You know how it is in gangs, once you get in, you can't get out.
But there was a way out.
This is a picture of me and my sister a long time ago. We were much younger.
A sister who never left her side.
She basically raised me.
The family she still holds close.
This is a picture of my niece.
As reminders of where she came from.
They keep me going every day to do what I'm supposed to do and not fall apart.
And where she's going.
They remind me of what I came here to do.
Tonight, a Project Baltimore investigation, the 2-hour diploma.
I was like, is this real high school diploma from the state of Maryland? It just does a disservice to our students.
Millions of your tax dollars going to schools with little to no oversight.
There's going to be a lot of concern about this in Annapolis.
What we found when we sent a student inside wearing an undercover camera.
We had somebody enroll in your school.
All the stuff that was on the transcript, I didn't do half of that.
This is about an attempt to kill a program. And good luck.
With our undercover cameras rolling, Fox 45 walked into the Maryland Department of Assessments and Taxation. We didn't know what to expect.
Am I in the right place?
Yeah. You want to do what?
File the paperwork. We're starting a church-exempt school.
29 minutes later, we walked out with exactly what we wanted.
Did you want to expedite that, or you just dropping it off?
When you were watching this whole series, what were you thinking? What were your thoughts?
Absolutely, completely unacceptable.
Governor Larry Hogan told Fox 45, after our first report aired on church-exempt schools, he directed the Department of Education to launch a statewide compliance investigation and tighten registration requirements.
The next morning, I think I had a staff meeting say, this is absurd and ridiculous. We got to get to the bottom of it.
Current state law allows churches to set up private schools, but our investigation found once the State Department of Education approves a school, it provides little to no oversight, even though church-exempt schools receive millions of dollars every year in state funding.
I had enough of this. Thank you for the interview.
Following Fox 45's reporting, the church-exempt status of one school, New Spiritual Foundation Christian Academy, was suspended by the state. But that's not the only oversight problem we found. Word Academy lists this vacant church as its own, but the school's founder told us he doesn't own it or even use it, but he hopes to someday. Tomorrow's Leaders Learning and Outreach Center in Hanover is not in good standing with the state taxation department. Its status is forfeited, but it's still listed as active on the Department of Education's website. All of this got us wondering, what would it take to create a church and start a school certified by the state of Maryland? So we decided to test the system, and we learned it's an easy two-step process. Step one, we needed a church. That brings us back here to assessments and taxation. In just 29 minutes, we created the Church of Good News, recognized by the state as a religious establishment with its own tax ID number, all for an expedited cost of $219. Step two, apply for a school. We used this building on York Road as an address. The paperwork took about 10 minutes to fill out. We then mailed it and waited. A few weeks later, Good News Academy was officially founded. It's right there, listed as an active church-exempt school in Baltimore County. With little effort, Fox 45 can now apply for state funding and charge for diplomas because Good News Academy is approved and certified by the State Department of Education. It was that easy. Should it be that easy?
Look, here's the balance. There are small churches who have small schools that are legitimate. The ones that you uncovered are blatantly committing fraud.
In Maryland, Democrats and Republicans don't often fully agree on education policy.
We need to require stricter oversight.
But when the legislative session begins in January, that may change. Democrat Eric Ludke, the chair of the Education Subcommittee, told Fox 45 he will introduce legislation next month to better protect tax dollars and students who attend church-exempt schools. Hogan, a Republican, says it's common sense.
MSDE, the Maryland State Department of Education, needs to do a better job of investigating to make sure that fraud is not taking place in selling diplomas from these phony operations, because it's not something I think anyone in the Department of Education or the Department of Assessment and Taxation was aware of until you uncovered it. And it's definitely fraud, it's a crime, and people need to be prosecuted.